brought up that often for good reason, sort of out of sight, out of mind, but talked about Evan White, a guy that they paid a few $1 million to, locked him in, and he has had nothing but injury concerns, unfortunately. He's a guy that's loaded with talent, but, man, just can't stay healthy. Here's where Jerry's talking about his health and what it is he believes he can bring to the team.
Right now, our medical people, our trainers and strength coaches couldn't be more excited about where he is physically. I think that's true of Evan himself. He's had a really long couple of years with very real injuries, but this is an incredibly athletic player who I think, and I've said this before, is as good as any defensive first baseman I've ever laid an eye on. He's just as smooth, silky. There is no such thing as a bad hop with Evan at first base. And, to have him back in a good place, he can swing the bat, he hits the ball hard. And before, going back down with another setback in September, his final month last year in Tacoma was just, eye-opening.
That is amazing to hear. And look,
And he's not wrong.
Yeah, and whatever you think about Jerry, I mean, the best defensive first baseman I've ever put eyes on. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's hyperbole, but
I don't know.
he looked fantastic. Now, it was the pandemic-shortened season, but he gets a Gold Glove.
One error that year.
He is really good. He is a very, very good defensive first baseman, without question. His issues, health and hitting.
Yeah.
Couldn't hit.
Well, it's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. And he's a great guy, too. He's one of our best interviews, up there with Taylor Trammell and, Cal. We really fond of that guy. But to me, Evan White, was one of my favorites. And, he was one of those guys, Bob, that we asked, like, what's your favorite kind of play? And he says, anytime I can help out a teammate. And especially, like a bad throw coming in. And he didn't mention anything about bad throws, but, I think I got that's a great question from him, Bob. Evan White, I believe so. Because I asked him, I'm like,
I remember that.
Do you remember, the times where you misjudged a ball and it hit you in the face or in the head or something? And he said something about getting hit in the head and how it made him really mad. and so, I guess he just decided, you know what, I'm not going to let that happen anymore. So, but yeah, just, that was 54 games. He played in 52 games that year. And one error, and that, if you're going to make any errors, I mean, first baseman, that's a tough go, especially with the ball coming in and whether it's going to bounce off the grass sometimes and sometimes off the dirt. Pretty incredible what he did, but man, if you could just get him to, I mean, that year. What was his batting average was
not good.
176.
It was not good, man.
So
he's got pop. If he makes contact, it's going to go a long way. He's one of those guys that hits the ball hard, which is true. But, man, we just talked about that critique of the Mariners lineup, which they had ranked number 7 on ESPN. But they said, one of the weaknesses was contact. and that's his weakness, is contact. Now, here he is. He went on to talk about what the plan is for Evan White going into this season.
He'll come to spring training. He needs ABs. He's missed a lot of plate appearances over the last 2 years, and what that looks like. He'll compete for a spot on the roster. The likelihood is we'll want him to gather up some at bats in AAA and get back to some type of routine. But he's got the talent where you don't hold him back. There's really it's up to his health to determine the impact that he can have on our team, and we're still hopeful that that's a real thing.
That's one of the interesting questions I think that I've had, anyways. What if he does come up and just rake and hits really well? What do you do with Ty France? Because look, Ty France is a really good first baseman, and I think especially him picking it up the way that he did. Now I think he played there a little bit, but he was mostly playing third base.